Hi, this is Steve with Thresher Media Group. Welcome to When You're Ready to Listen. This podcast is dedicated to exploring the truth about God, things you may not have understood, may not have been taught, or quite frankly, had a very hard time believing. And since our entire relationship with God rests on believing, it is important we learn how to separate the truth from the many lies and fictions that abound within the religion of Christianity. So when you're ready to listen, tune in and discover a pathway to freedom, encouragement, life, and hope. Episode 107, Revelation 13, verse 2, part 2. Revelation 13:2. And the beast which I saw was like a leopard, and his feet as of a bear, and his mouth as of the mouth of a lion. In our last podcast, we discussed the emergence of the kingdom of the beast, who will be given Satan's power, throne, and great authority. We addressed the odd animal images which the Spirit uses to describe the kingdom of the beast, and how these images represent a conglomeration of kingdoms to come in the last days. In this podcast, we're going to dive deeper into the analysis of the animal images and learn more about this fourth beast, about the king, the kingdom, and the man, the little horn. To start, let's return to the original dream in the book of Daniel, which describes the first three beasts, the lion, the bear, and the leopard, so we can gain understanding on these animal images and what they mean practically in terms of the kingdom of the beast. The first three beasts of Daniel: lion with eagle wings. The first was like a lion and had the wings of an eagle. I kept looking until its wings were plucked, and it was lifted up from the ground and made to stand on 2 feet like a man. A human mind also was given to it. As we previously stated, the image of the lion's mouth is terrifying and intended to create fear with its loud roar and sharp teeth with which the lion bites and tears its victims apart. The lion is also strategic in its method of strangulating its prey before it kills them. With that said, there are a couple of key things to note about this king and its kingdom. This lion which Daniel saw had wings of an eagle. According to the code, wings speak of various things: speed of flight, a quick escape, as well as a protection and covering. They also are correlated to spiritual beings, those that possess wings like the seraphs, cherubim, the four, etc. But specifically, these are wings of an eagle. In Revelation 12:14, we're given an image of a woman, Israel, who escapes on the 2 wings of a great eagle, which speaks of the protection and support she is given by a nation that is identified by the eagle. With that in mind, this lion began with wings of an eagle, strong, powerful wings, allowing it to soar here and there, but they were eventually plucked off. After the plucking, this kingdom undergoes a transformation of its base nature, from that of a fierce and terrifying wild animal that goes from here to there conquering and tearing apart its victims, from the lion, to that of a man with reason and control. Beyond being lifted from the ground and made to stand on 2 feet like a man, this kingdom that was once a lion with eagle's wings became a display of reason and understanding as a human mind was given to it. In these last days, the one nation that has arisen and whose national symbol is the lion is England, a country with 2 feet, England and Scotland. It started out as a conquering lion covering vast territories of the earth. In fact, the British Empire was once the largest empire that has ever existed on the face of the earth, far larger than the Roman Empire. But when its eagle's wings were plucked and the great eagle moved across the Atlantic and made its nest in America, its nature, the nature of the lion, began to change. England then aspired to be a democratic and reasonable influence on the nations of the world, no longer bent on conquering them into submission and suffocating them into subjugation. In fact, they returned control and sovereignty to most of their satellite kingdoms as they attempted to lead the world in a new epoch of diplomacy and reason. After all, they were given a human mind. The bear, and behold, another beast, a second one resembling a bear, and it was raised up on one side, and 3 ribs were in its mouth between its teeth, and thus they said to it, Arise, devour much meat. This king and his kingdom resemble a bear, which speaks of its stability, weight-bearing ability, and its capability to stand on two legs and fight, stretching out its long arms and tearing its victims. Historically, and up through to today, there is only one nation that has been consistently depicted as a bear, and that is Russia. Being raised up on one side speaks of an aspect of this long-standing empire that has always been more pronounced than other aspects of the nation. If it is Russia, this likely speaks of its military, which has always been propped up and has always been Russia's priority, even over the health and prosperity of its people and its typically stagnant economy. For instance, the U.S. spends an average of 11% of its federal budget on the military, whereas when adjusted for exchange rates and internal procurement, it is estimated by experts that Russia spends upwards of 50% of its federal budget on the military, far above the typical estimates of 20%. The three ribs that are in its mouth and between its teeth say or command, "Arise, devour much meat." This speaks of three smaller kingdoms that were once conquered and practically entirely consumed by Russia, but not entirely left without representation. This remaining portion, the ribs, urge Russia on in their desire to devour other countries, other meat. And keep in mind, Daniel's vision is dealing with spiritual kings and kingdoms that manifest themselves in our physical world. Thus, these ribs represent territorial spirits that were themselves consumed and devastated by the spirit who is over Russia. For instance, Belarus might be one of those ribs. If mankind was formed from Adam's ribs, then kings and kingdoms could be formed from these three ribs. But the bear keeps these ribs between its teeth, ensuring that these spirits never get the chance to reconstitute into any living power or authority on the earth. But as it goes with the dog-eat-dog nature of the demonic, it seems that since they have been taken down and defeated, they want others to go down with them, hence the command they utter, to arise and devour much meat. Now, it is possible that they, who said to it, "Arise, devour much meat," does not refer to the three ribs, but refers to a third party. Perhaps they refers to other angelic beings that are just given the bear a command, seeing how easily the bear ravished the three kings and their kingdoms, which were represented by the three ribs. We're not really sure, but it could be argued either way. The leopard. After this, I kept looking, and behold, another one, like a leopard, which had on its back 4 wings of a bird. The beast also had 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. As we learned, the leopard is opportunistic, moves in stealth, is cunning, bloodthirsty, and especially cruel. And unlike the lion and the bear, the leopard tends to hunt almost exclusively at night, cloaked in darkness. The leopard had on its back 4 wings of a bird. This speaks of its mobility and ability to reach far out beyond its normal domicile. But with the specific reference to wings of a bird, we can be confident that it is entirely demonically empowered in its movement. According to the code, birds used in these types of contexts tends to refer to demonic spirits. The leopard also had 4 heads. According to the code, the head is a symbol of leadership and authority. For example, Jesus is spoken as being the head of the church, and the church is his body. In effect, this leopard rules and is given dominion through 4 demonic leaders, spirit princes, which are heads over nations. As we have learned, the kingdom of darkness over which the dragon rules, which he will give to the beast, is structured and hierarchical, much like our modern-day military. Thus, in the same way that angelic beings are not identical in rank, power, glory, and authority, consider the 4, the archangels, the seraphim, the cherubim. Not all demonic beings have the same rank, power, glory, and authority. But heads are leaders, and they exercise great authority in the spiritual realms, which also impact our physical reality. In addition, the fact that there are 4 heads is also a message in code. The number 4 refers to God's creative works from one end of the earth to the other. This reveals that the leopard's impact is not just regional, but its influence reaches out across the 4 corners of the earth. And since it has 4 wings of a bird, we know it's mobile, and it does in fact have the ability to fly or to reach the 4 corners of the earth. The Spirit also makes the point that dominion was given to it. This beast did not develop naturally into an empire through conquest, but its authority was in essence handed to it by others. Sure, we know that all authority exists only because Yahweh declares it, but that's not the point the Spirit wants us to understand, since this was not spoken about the lion or the bear, just the leopard. The leopard was given its dominion by other sovereignties, resulting in 4 heads, and it did not have to conquer or crush them like the lion or the bear did to expand their kingdoms. Dominion was given to the leopard. In these last days leading up to the end times, there are 4 nations which identify the leopard as the national symbol: Iran, Pakistan, Afghanistan. Afghanistan and Pakistan were once one nation, and Somalia. Of the 4, Iran would clearly be the ruling or dominating kingdom that does most of its work in the shadows through enabling terrorism and spreading its doctrines around the world. Now, unlike the lion and the bear, which have clear historical animal symbolism tied to specific nations, and which practically everyone recognizes the world over, not so with the leopard. This makes sense since the leopard lives in darkness, and through stealth it operates with cunning. With that said, these 4 kingdoms that comprise the leopard may not be Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Somalia, but their specific identity is not nearly as important as is the nature of the leopard. The conglomeration of the first 3 beasts. What is fascinating is that the description of the beast in Revelation 13:2 incorporates the first 3 beasts of Daniel's vision. It is a conglomeration or some sort of amalgamation of these spiritual kings. And the beast which I saw was like a leopard, and his feet were like those of a bear, and his mouth like the mouth of a lion. It's interesting, however, that the order of the beasts is different from what Daniel saw. He saw the lion, the bear, and the leopard. But in Revelation, we are presented with the leopard, the bear, and the lion. The switch in order is another hint by the Spirit that the kingdom of the beast will first arise in cunning and work in the shadows, the leopard. And then he will reach out and begin to crush other kingdoms, the bear. And finally, he will tear apart the people of God, and he will roar over his prey as he believes he has the victory, the lion. What could this all mean? This 4th beast, which we will examine next, is a kingdom that is likely to be comprised of various nations or parts thereof, which come together into this monstrosity, all led by their respective demonic spirit princes, who will in turn all be subject to the beast. Attributes of the kingdom of the beast. What is clearly presented in this animal imagery is that the 4th beast will exhibit these attributes: stealth, opportunism, cunning, bloodthirsty, cruel, stable, weight-bearing, fighting advantage, loud, boastful, biting, and tearing its victims after strangulating them of life. The 4th beast of Daniel, and the beast. Our deep dive into the visions and dreams recorded in Daniel might be a bit confusing, especially on the issue of the beast, the kingdom, the king, and the man. So let's clarify. Number 1, the beast, as we have used it throughout this study, is the demonic prince, the destroyer and destruction himself, whose name in Hebrew is Abaddon and in Greek Apollyon. He is currently interned in the abyss, is identified as a king, a spiritual ruler, and he is the angel of the abyss. The beast is released from the abyss with the blowing of the 5th trumpet. This is the angelic spirit, the king, that will possess the man we call the Antichrist. And it is the spirit to whom the dragon gives his power and his throne and great authority. The 4th beast, which Daniel describes, is a picture of the kingdom of the beast, and it is seen from the view of the spiritual realms. These descriptions give us insight into how the kingdom will impact our physical realms. This kingdom is first seen entering our physical world with the blowing of the 2nd trumpet, where something like a great mountain, code for a kingdom, burning with fire, was thrown into the sea. Number 3. Accordingly, the 4th kingdom emerges before its king, as the beast is, at that time, still interned in the abyss. The kingdom will reflect the attributes first of a leopard, then the bear, and ultimately the lion. It is likely that the lion-like nature will be on full display when the beast is released from the abyss and assumes rule of the kingdom. Number 4, this kingdom will be fronted by a man possessed by demons. This is the one we call the Antichrist. The nature of the demonic in the man is also imaged through animals. First a hawk, and then an eagle. In the animal world, the hawk is a fierce raptor, but at the top of the food chain is the mighty eagle. Thus, in its early stages, the kingdom will be fronted by this man possessed by a demonic spirit, bearing characteristics of the hawk's nature. We covered this connection to the hawk and subsequently to the eagle in Revelation 4, under the heading, The Mystery, the Snake, the Eagle, and the Man. Then upon his release from the abyss, the man will be possessed by the beast, imaged as an eagle. Out from this fourth kingdom will arise what the prophet Daniel describes a little horn that will subdue and remove 3 horns, 3 spiritual leaders, and in so doing take over the kingdom. This little horn will grow to be bigger than the rest of the horns, and it will challenge the people of God and the King of Kings. This is the horn who is given a mouth of boasting and blasphemies. It is a picture of the beast and describes the time when he takes over the rule of the kingdom and then possesses the man we call the Antichrist. We learned the beast is so powerful that even locked in the abyss, he has found a way to even now be building his kingdom. King, kingdom, and the man. Another way to understand this is that there is a spiritual king or prince who will rule a kingdom that is comprised of other spiritual rulers, those who are part of Satan's inner circle, but devote themselves to the beast in accordance with the dragon's grant of power, throne, and great authority to the beast. The beast will possess a man who will lead the earthly counterparts of the nations and kingdoms that are ruled by these spiritual princes. Together, they comprise this grotesque image that shocked Daniel and greatly disturbed him. This conglomeration or confederation will form a spiritual and physical kingdom that will wage war with the saints of God, his bondservants, and overpower them and kill them. The combined imagery, Daniel and Revelation. To complete the overall picture, let us also examine the fourth beast found in Daniel's vision and dreams and overlay it with what we have learned from Revelation 13:2. Some of this we have covered already, so we won't exhaust those points, but it is a critical part of the codex that sits right alongside Revelation 13 in terms of giving us a comprehensive view of the beast and the kingdom of the beast, this fourth beast of Daniel. So we'll read Daniel 7, verses 7 through 8, verses 11 through 12, and verse 19 through 27. After this, I kept looking in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrifying and extremely strong, and it had large iron teeth. It devoured and crushed and trampled down the remainder with its feet, and it was different from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. While I was contemplating the horns, behold, another horn, a little one, came up among them, and 3 of the first horns were pulled out by the roots before it. And behold, this horn possessed eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth uttering great boast. Then I kept looking because the sound of the boastful words which the horn was speaking. I kept looking until the beast was slain, and its body was destroyed and given to the burning fire. As for the rest of the beasts, their dominion was taken away, but an extension of life was granted to them for an appointed period of time. Then I desired to know the exact meaning of the fourth beast, which was different from all the others, exceedingly dreadful, with its teeth of iron and its claws of bronze, and which devoured, crushed, and trampled down the remainder with its feet. And the meaning of the 10 horns that were on its head, and the other horn which came up, and before which 3 of them fell, namely that horn which had eyes and a mouth uttering great boasts, and which was larger in appearance than its associates. I kept looking, and that horn was waging war with the holy ones and overpowering them, until the Ancient of Days came and judgment was passed in favor of the holy ones of the highest one. And the time arrived when the holy ones took possession of the kingdom. Then he said, the fourth beast will be a fourth kingdom on the earth, which will be different from all the other kingdoms, and will devour the whole earth and tread it down and crush it. As for the 10 horns out of this kingdom, 10 kings will arise, and another will arise after them. And he will be different from the previous ones, and will subdue 3 kings. He will speak out against the Most High and wear down the holy ones of the Highest One. And he will intend to make alterations in times and in law. And they will be given into his hands for time, times, and half a time. But the court will sit for judgment, and his dominion will be taken away, annihilated, and destroyed forever. Then the sovereignty, the dominion, and the greatness of all the kingdoms under the whole heaven will be given to the people of the holy ones of the Highest One. His kingdom will be an everlasting kingdom, and all the dominions will serve and obey him. The beast is a head. In Revelation 13:2, we are told that the beast has 7 heads and 10 horns. So let's consider that this idea of head is not just a picture of leadership, but it's also a picture of an office. Liken it to the way the President of the United States refers both to the man who occupies the office and, even more importantly, to the office or the institution of the presidency. Men who occupy the office of the president come and go, but the office of leadership is an enduring fixture in our government. In the United States, we have one president, one office. But in this picture of the dragon's council of leadership, which is given to the kingdom of the beast, there are 7 spirit princes or kings who occupy the 7 offices or seats of leadership. Each one is the head of a certain territory around the world that has been allocated by the dragon to each king. Thus, the kingdom of the beast will run via these 7 offices of leadership. And there are 7 spirits, princes, kings, which occupy these offices. And let's keep in mind that according to the code, the number 7 communicates completeness. Hence, the image of the 7 heads is a picture of complete leadership. In addressing the 7 heads, the Spirit in Revelation 17:11 states, "The beast which was and is not is himself also an 8th, and is one of the 7 heads, that is." Since the 7 represents the 7 offices of leadership, the implication is that the kingdom of the beast, which is the ruling council of the dragon, always is ruled by 7 spirits. But the twist is that the beast was once one of the 7. This is super important to understand. Thus, upon his release from the abyss, he himself is also an 8th and is of the 7. By the way, this comment that the beast is of the 7 is tied to the comment about the beast which was and is not. Thus, combined, it gives us a clue as to the identity of the beast. The clue is in the which was, meaning that previously he expressed himself to humanity in a way that could be identified. Apparently, the beast was one of the original 7 heads. He was. But when he was vanquished by Yahweh and sent to the abyss, and is not, and then based on a little comment we'll get into in Revelation 13:3, spoiler alert, it appears that all the spirits in the kingdom of darkness assumed that the beast was dead, the is not, for he suffered a mortal wound when he was exiled. This explains why then all will be amazed at the beast when he is released from the abyss, for it will be as if he has risen from the dead. Thus, assuming his demise, another spirit prince took over his office, keeping the image of the 7 heads of complete leadership intact. But since there can only be 7 heads in this image of complete leadership, upon his release from the abyss, the destroyer will be an 8th in number, but he will remove one of the heads and resume his role as one of the 7. This transaction is described for us in Daniel 7. By the way, it's not a coincidence that the beast is the 8th king in number. 8 is code, and it's the number of new beginnings, the number of the Messiah, the one who makes all things new. The beast takes on this number consistent with how he presents himself to the world as the Messiah who is risen from the dead, albeit a false Messiah. The beast is a horn, a little horn. According to Daniel 7, the way the beast retakes his office of leadership and resumes his position as one of the 7 heads occurs through the horns. The image of the 10 horns speaks of spiritual kings that have yet to receive a kingdom, but according to Revelation 17:12-13, they are those who will receive authority as kings with the beast for 1 hour. In other words, there will be 10 spiritual kings at the rank of king who will be given their opportunity to act for 1 hour or for a short period of time on behalf of the kingdom of the beast. They will not be one of the 7 heads, but the 10 kings are sitting on top of the heads, the horns. They will be the representation of the heads for the purposes of attacking and defending. Now, regarding the 4th beast, Daniel 7 explains from the dream, it devoured and crushed, trampled down the remainder with its feet, and it was different from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. While I was contemplating the horns, behold, another horn, a little one, came up among them, and 3 of the first horns were pulled out by the roots before it. And behold, this horn possessed eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth uttering great boast, and which was larger in its appearance than its associate. From the interpretation of the dream, as for the 10 horns, out of this kingdom 10 kings will arise, and another will arise after them. And he will be different from the previous ones, and will subdue 3 kings. He will speak out against the Most High, and wear down the holy ones of the highest one. And he will intend to make alterations in times and in law, and they will be given into his hand for times, and half a time. So this little horn is a king, but he will be different from the previous ones because he was larger in appearance than the others. The word translated as larger does not mean bigger in mass or size. Rather, it comes from the Aramaic word rab, which means that this little horn was larger in rank or stature, often used in association with a chief, a captain, or a lord. Though all the horns are identified as spiritual kings, this little horn is of a rank of spiritual being that is even higher in power and glory than the others, hence his association with the 7 heads. Apparently, his very appearance reveals his exalted stature. Images the behemoth in the book of Job. It seems that only the dragon exceeds this angel in glory, rank, or stature. With this little horn being of rank and stature greater than the other kings, it's still quite odd that he is referred to as little, or in some translations, small. The little horn will dispose of 3 of the 10 horns in a very violent manner, pulling them out by the roots. Thus, it's likely that when the horn subdues or humbles the 3 horns, it is then that he conquers and vanquishes the spirit that is occupying one of the 7 offices, and he, as an 8th, takes his place and once again becomes of the 7. He will exercise authority for times, and half a times, 3.5 years. He will speak out against the Most High and wear down the holy ones of the highest one. All of this is descriptive of the activities of the beast. The little horn is the beast. A little horn. While I was contemplating the horns, behold, another horn, a little one, came among them. And 3 of the first horns were pulled out by the roots before it. And behold, this horn possessed eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth uttering great boast, and which was larger in appearance than its associate. The Spirit draws our attention to a little horn, clearly contrasting it with the 3 horns that he subdues, the 3 he rips out by the roots. But why does the Spirit refer to him as little, or literally in the Aramaic, to dwindle or to become small? This is pure speculation. But do you remember the idea we left floating out there regarding a body, that there must be a body? Perhaps the beast is described as little or small because the Spirit is describing the time when the beast possesses the man of lawlessness, the man who is known as the Antichrist or the son of destruction. The Spirit makes sure we know that this horn, this king, this weapon to attack and defend, possesses eyes like the eyes of a man and a mouth uttering great boast, hence its connection with the man. He will speak out against the Most High and wear down, or literally in the Aramaic, afflict the holy ones of the highest one. And after seeing images of the kingdom of the beast that was dreadful and terrifying, so much so that the 4th beast crushes and tramples on the kingdoms of the lion, the bear, and the leopard, Daniel is shown a spiritual king of great stature, greater in glory than all the other kings, than all the other horns. But at this time, he is contained within a man, hence the eyes and the mouth uttering great boast. Being contained in a man, however, he is described as little or small, because this mighty spirit has literally dwindled himself down to the level of a man. And the codex is clear. Mankind has been made lower than the angels. There needs to be a body. Jesus came in the flesh as a man, declaring that he was the Messiah. And even though most Jews rejected Jesus' claim, it was not because he was a man, as they were expecting a man, a political and military ruler from their own countrymen to save them. In fact, they were expecting a prophet like Moses, who would simply appear out of nowhere and deliver them from Rome. And not someone possessed by the Spirit of God, claiming to be God, who would die and not remain. In fact, they understood the law to say that the Christ was to remain forever. So they were confused when Jesus said that he would have to die. Copying the typology of the Messiah seems all that the dragon is able to do is copy that which comes from Yahweh. It was inevitable that if the biggest deception ever concocted would be successful, that of a false Messiah, then there would need to be a body, a man, and a spirit to possess that man who would, like Jesus, claim to be God, claim to be the Messiah. Simply said, there must be a body. Demonic possession. Now, this next assertion comes from direct hands-on experience, but it is also supported by the Codex. Demonic possession is a tricky thing, because once a demonic spirit enters a person, they localize themselves and fix their impact, influence, and power to and near the life of the person they inhabit. They become literally small or little, dwindled. And this containment within a human vessel makes them extremely vulnerable to exorcism, to being cast out to places they do not want to go, like the abyss. We see this in every exorcism performed by Jesus. To help explain this dynamic, let me tell you a story from my direct hands-on experience. There was a woman who was possessed by 16 demons. Apparently, she originally had 14 demons, but 2 more joined to implement a plan to destroy a specific work of God that he was doing in the area. The 2 others included a spiritual principality who ruled over multiple municipalities in the area, and a spiritual power whose purpose was to ruin children's life through various forms of sexual abuse. In casting out the principality, it was discovered that this principality had made a spiritual deal with what he called a strong man in the heavenly realms, who provided some sort of protection for him. This strong man was a spiritual prince, one of the mighty rulers in the heavenly realms. And the reason this principality risked locating himself within a person was because this prince promised the principality protection and victory. Then when the strong man, the prince, was removed and his hold destroyed, the principality found itself cut off from the power that had protected him. Suddenly he screamed in terror, "He lied to me!" In that regard, if Satan were to localize himself in a man, there is no other demonic being strong enough to protect him. There is no angel with greater glory than Satan. Besides, Satan took that risk once with Judas to obtain a prize so big and so sure that it was worth the risk. And sure enough, once he accomplished his task, Satan had his host, Judas, killed, and he got out of there. Given the risk, however, this time the dragon chooses to outsource the possession to the beast, such that he could take on the role of the strong man and provide protection to the beast and secure him while he is little or small, diminished, contained within a man. Thus we have Lucifer imaged as the powerful, mighty, unconquerable dragon standing on the edge of humanity, on the sand on the seashore, and his pet arises from the sea of humanity. Now, a quick little side note on little versus small. In Daniel 8, the next chapter over, Yahweh showed Daniel another vision, which was about a man, Antiochus Epiphanes, who would be a foreshadow of the Antichrist. We touched on this man in Revelation 9. Antiochus Epiphanes was a ruler of the northern territories in the Grecian Empire. He is generally understood to be a type or a foreshadowing of the Antichrist. As a foreshadow, we can expect that the Antichrist, who will become possessed by the beast, will operate in a manner like that of Antiochus, as described in Daniel chapter 8, verses 23 through 26. According to the vision, when Antiochus is first introduced, he is pictured as a small horn, but quite distinct from the little horn associated with the beast. The Aramaic word translated as small means few in number. It's a calculation of sorts. The Spirit was communicating that when this man arises to power, his entourage, whether spiritual or physical, would be relatively small, few in number. And the point is that just because in English the words little or small are often interchangeable, the underlying Aramaic uses different words with different meanings. Thus, the vision of Daniel 8 provides for us a foreshadow of the beast, which is extremely useful in understanding what will be the movements and actions of the beast as he dwindles himself, becomes little, and possesses the man. But the small horn of the goat in Daniel 8 is not the little horn of the beast in Daniel 7. Summary of the fourth beast. The fourth beast is a picture of the kingdom of the beast, a confederacy of spiritual rulers, heads, which rule over other spiritual rulers, horns, as well as their earthly counterparts, such that it all plays out in the realms of humanity, in our world. This confederacy is characterized by a leopard, a bear, and a lion. In that regard, the fourth beast will exhibit attributes keeping with the animal-like imagery: stealth, opportunistic, cunning, bloodthirsty, cruel, stable, weight-bearing, fighting advantage, loud, boastful, biting, and tearing its victims after strangulating them of life. This fourth beast is dreadful and terrifying and extremely strong, and it will have large iron teeth. It will have an unbreakable bite, and bronze claws of judgment. It is grotesque and horrifying, so much so that the prophet Daniel said he was distressed and alarmed. But from this monstrosity there will arise a little horn, a spiritual king who is great in stature. In fact, he is greater in power and glory than the other kings. This spirit will possess a man, and from this diminished place he will attack, and he will defend his kingdom. With eyes of a man and a mouth uttering great boasts, he will speak against the Most High and afflict the holy ones of the Highest One. But before long, his dominion, which is only for a short time, times and half a time, will be taken away, annihilated, and destroyed forever. Let's stop here, and we'll pick up on our next podcast with the description of one of the 7 heads of the beast, which bore a deadly wound, as if having previously been butchered. I'm glad you tuned in and have been ready to listen. To get a free download of the full written transcript with all the scripture references footnoted, please go to threshermediagroup.com. That is THRESHER mediagroup.com. This is Steve with Thresher Media Group. When you're ready to listen, tune in.